The manager was treated as God. If you went to see him as a poor little cashier as I was, it was only ever for one reason, and I was to be told off.
In those days, it was very much a personal touch, and people got very close to their customer base.
It was NatWest Bank. Everybody come to NatWest Bank back in them days.
The old NatWest Bank building on Bute Street, one of Cardiff Bay's most extraordinary and memorable structures. Rich in history, the building has been a cultural landmark for over 80 years.
This fine building was opened in 1927 after a 3-year building programme which started in 1924. It survived the Second World War. National Provincial Bank eventually became National Westminster, who occupied this building until 2002 and essentially stands in the old Mount Stewart Square area.
The building's history is as colourful as the area itself. At the turn of the 20th century, the Cardiff Docks area, nicknamed Tiger Bay, was a thriving community thanks to the business brought in by the coal export industry. For those working and living in the area, there was a strong sense of comradeship, and the building acted as a hub for the community, continuing to do so throughout the Second World War and the decades to follow.
During the daytime, there was the business community in their suits, and of course when we were in the branch, you weren't allowed to take your jacket off.
At the time, we used to have a suit supplied us every year, I think it was, a new suit, raincoat every 2, a new bowler hat. I bought a bowler hat as well. You're going to have a new bowler hat every year, or an umbrella every 2 years.
It was always a pleasure to come to work, which is the main thing that I think sticks in my mind. I'd catch the bus in from Cowbridge, where I lived in those days, and a trolley bus down then from the centre of town down to Cardiff Docks.
The original Cardiff Docks branch opened in Bute Street in 1873. It then transferred to another location in the same street in 1893. The new National Provincial Bank building was a symbol of the area's prosperity and epitomised the hope for an affluent future, with the first £1 million cheque being written inside these very walls.
It's the first time I've been in this building for some 50-odd years, but I must say that not a lot has changed from this point of view anyway.
Although from my memory, back in 1971 when I was a cashier, these flaps used to open and they didn't have this part here where the people put the cash in, but I guess the bank probably put those in there for security reasons.
Good Lord, this is just as it used to be 50 years ago. In those days, there were cheques flying around everywhere and people coming and going, wanting this, wanting that, sorting things away. But this is exactly the same area, exactly the same. The safes are the same and they're open, but I don't think there's any cash in them.
I remember we had one day, this a solicitor came in and he had a big pile of boxes with him. And it turned out the lady who was the state it was, she had murdered her mother.
Ah, the door is locked, as it should be in a good security position. I'm just walking into the private safe deposit area and the safe where all the cash was kept. These safes here have kept millions of pounds over the years.
First 6 months of the year, they had an inspectors down, and of course it was panic then. I didn't wonder what was going on, like, you know. And the senior man got me in the office. He said, "Well, I know you're new here, Donald." He said, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, it's all right, you know, I'm getting on all right." Like, he said, "What about the money downstairs?" And he said, "I tell you one thing now, what you'll find, it'll become something you stick in a sack." It wasn't treated as money.
And every day there were security vans came here, picked up cash from the branch here, distributed it to all the branches in South and West Wales.
And of course what we'd have to do then is get a container from British Rail, we'd load the container up, then lock it and seal it, and then we put the keys in an envelope and send it to people, the Bank of England, who we're sending it to, you know. They would then receive the container and they would break the seals and then take the cash out. Like, well, they send us this container, if you've seen it, honest, you could put your hand in and take a sack out of it, because the sections they slide in on top of it was all warped and bent. And I had to ride on the back end of the bloody lorry up to Cardiff Central Station wearing my bowler hat at the time, because his cash was on the back of the wagon.
I used to like coming in here. I liked the counters, I liked the walls, I liked the doors, and so on. And even after the bank was closed, I used to walk through from Bute Street to West Bute Street, as many local people used to. It was a kind of shortcut, so it was used in that sort of way. Now it's locked and you can't do that. But anyway, and when I used to do it, I used to sometimes come and look through the door, and when the door was open, I used to open the door and look at particularly at the vaulted ceiling, which I rather liked.
The graphics on the wall are absolutely unique. We have a very large one there of a chariot, someone driving a chariot, and there are very few buildings within the city where you can find this type of architecture.
You've got to understand, this was the only bank down here when it was the docks then. There wasn't Barclays or any other bank down here. There was only this bank. So everybody came here instead of going all the way up to town.
When you first came into the building, you felt overwhelmed when you saw the size of the space you had here.
I used to look at all those on the ceiling. They were nice, the pictures, the horse and carriage. It's like the Roman Empire.
With outstanding architectural features, this building is a characteristically grand example of early 20th century construction. The building's design is neoclassical Greek with some flamboyant European touches, such as French Shaun columns made from Grenoble marble.
The modern day building cannot be compared with these wonderful sort of furnishings and marble work.
When you walk into it, it's a completely different world that you're walking into. There can't be many places within the city of Cardiff that have a hall like this.
In 1973, National Provincial celebrated 100 years in Cardiff Docks. In the run-up to this anniversary, preparations were made to mark this milestone.
The premises department erected scaffolding all around the building, and the whole outside was stonewashed. I think that process took something like 6 months to achieve. They held a special evening with approximately 60 or 70 staff invited and a number of local dignitaries.
Okay, when did you open this account for us?
Nowadays, financial decisions are often made by computers, but things used to be very different. The bank manager was king of his domain and someone to be feared.
There was no praise in those days, no matter how hard you worked. And I remember being £20 short on the one till one time. I dreaded going to see the manager then, although of course he didn't actually know what you were doing and he struggled to even remember your name. But you could be assured that if you went in there, you came out with a flea in your ear.
He was a very serious person, as bank managers were in those days, I believe, who was very sincere and particular in dealing with his customers and staff. The staff really got to know him very rarely.
The Cardiff Docks area, or Tiger Bay as it was known, had a reputation for being a tough and dangerous place. It was the red light district of Cardiff and the scene of many unsolved crimes.
I remember one night we had a staff party and didn't come out of here until about 9:30, and we'd had a few drinks. When we walked up to the bus stop, there were several large ladies grabbing older men and to take them away for whatever reason. Luckily, we avoided them. I remember one who was known as the Princess of Cardiff Bay, approximately 20 stone in size, and I'm glad to say I could run a lot faster than she could.
Because we'd get a lot of foreign seamen in, Arab nationality, this type of thing, like. And of course, because they always got paid off in dollars. And of course, we had a foreign tailor then, and of course, we'd either change it into sterling, or they would be sending it abroad.
But certainly the atmosphere in Cardiff, and Cardiff Docks in particular, was top drawer, and really never any bother at all. No area of concern if you were here at 10 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night, it wouldn't matter.
Sadly, in the late 20th century, the Tiger Bay area started to experience a period of decline. The late 1960s saw the destruction of large areas of the bay and the displacement of the community. With an extensive redevelopment project commissioned in 1987, Cardiff Bay has seen an injection of new life and has become one of the most important commercial centres in South Wales.
With the development of Cardiff Bay, all the derelict buildings have gone, the old West Dock is filled in and housing built all around there.
I think it's a bit of a tragedy that the old buildings that were here weren't taken better care of during the redevelopment. Looks like the redevelopment ignored the architectural history and heritage which we had here, and instead did things like building a Mermaid Quay. So I'm glad to see that this building is being renovated and revived for good public uses.
This building attracted my attention primarily because it's in such a prestigious and historic part of Cardiff. The heritage of Mount Stuart Square, and this building in particular, attracted my passion for beautiful, interesting buildings which stand out from the norm.
The architectural grandeur and unique design of the building has made it an ideal location for film and television shoots. In fact, it has already played host to productions such as Doctor Who and Torchwood.
We've had a lot of different companies use this building for their own productions, and they've always been extremely satisfied.
Look, I know how mad I'm sounding.
Shall we try it from the beginning this time?
Okay, there's this house. A big old house, been empty for years. Falling apart. Wester Drumlins, out by the estate. You've probably seen it.
Wester Drumlin.
Yes.
Could you just wait here for a minute?
One of the most unique things about this building is its architecture and its internal structure. For example, in the banking hall, we have a very historic grand atrium. We have huge vaults in the basement, and the whole place has a great ambience. It's not without its challenges. It is grade 2 listed, which means that you can't structurally alter the exterior and many parts of the interior here.
It's just a real sense of history. It's part of Cardiff and it's part of Cardiff Bay.
To this day, the old NatWest Bank building continues to cast its mesmerising presence over the people of Bute Street. With both a rich history and a wealth of prospects, it bridges the gap between the past and the future, between the historical and the contemporary.